In today's video, I'm going to show you a tool that allowed me to have my first six-figure day using webinars. And I use a combination of like Russell Brunson's and Jason Fladlyan's approaches. They kind of got married and had a baby, and it was me. If you're brand new here, my name is Mason VanMeter. I'm working with insurance agents to get their message out to more people through the use of webinars so they can work less and make 10 times more. Just for full transparency, this tool comes from hypnosis. And I already know what you're thinking if you're a lot like me back when I first heard the word hypnosis. You're like, Mason, there's no way any of that BS works. It's all airy-fairy mumbo jumbo. I thought the same thing, believe it or not, just a couple of years ago until I went to my first NLP class. And how I got introduced to this, I was watching, it was right after my fiance had left me. And I was kind of sitting there, I was talking to a guy named Jim, part of the insurance agency I was working with at the time. It's like, things aren't going too well in my life right now. And I was having, I guess, an identity crisis. I don't know, because I had put all this stock, I had put all this like input and effort into this relationship, and it crashed and burned right in front of me because I got so focused on entrepreneurship and doing all this stuff and trying to live up to that self-image that she had of me. And come to find out, she was just saying things to please me. It wasn't ever really the truth. Not blaming her by any means. It's just I should have been more direct. And there's times for that, but there's also times to be very indirect in terms of communication. And so lo and behold, I was going through this crisis. Like my bank account whittled from $40,000 to $0. And I was like, fuck dude, I gotta do something. Okay? And so I'll listen to this Tony Robbins video, and he mentioned three letters I've never heard before, NLP, and that stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. It's not to be confused with any of Jeremy Miner's NEPQ. He made that term up to sell his technique, which it's very familiar. I think it's literally the same thing as reframing. It's just, understand NLP is just it's modeling. That's what NLP is known after. It's modeling. So it's taking the best methodologies, the best practices from other industries and compiling them into a set of tools that linguists, orators, narrators, people who communicators can use. So reframing is it's very similar to what Jeremy Miner does with this NEPQ stuff, if you've ever heard of it, just so you have something comparable to that. So I went to this class, paid $5,000 for my first NLP introductory class, partnered up with a guy named Simon Gledhill from South Africa, my favorite teacher by far, one of the best in the world to teach NLP. And he learned this from Tad James, and who learned it from Richard Bandler and John Grindler, who were in classes with Tony Robbins and all that. And they taught two things really. So they had the NLP stuff, they had timeline therapy, so TLT, and they also had hypnosis. I was like, there's no way any of this hypnosis shit works. So you guys are a bunch of babbling bunch of baboons, you're a bunch of fools, okay? That shit doesn't work on me. It doesn't work on me. Hypnosis isn't real. And I thought that was the case. All right? I truly believe that with my heart of hearts until I saw someone get hypnotized. And I was like, hold up, what is that? What is this black magic? That actually kind of looks really cool, because I'm a very curious person. I used to get my hand slapped all the time when my mom, we'd be in the store, she's like, don't touch that. I'm like, why? Don't ask that question, but why? Because I said, but why? And I'm a why person. I like to pick things up and examine them. It's a really good approach for life. It's a really good skill for entrepreneurs to have, is curiosity. Just know when you should not be curious. So I learned this hypnosis thing, and I saw someone else get hypnotized. I was like, okay, it works on other people, but it's still not going to work on me. I was like, and then they did it to me. They were like, all you have to do is believe you can be hypnotized. Okay, I'll try this I can be hypnotized hat on. And sure enough, when they hypnotized me, I went into this deep state of relaxation where I was just super suggestible, and they did this And when you open your eyes, I'm gonna erase your name from the imagine you see a whiteboard, and when I erase your name off of it, you can no longer remember your name. And when they opened my eyes, it's like, I knew my name deep down, but I wanted to play along with it. I was playing along with the suggestion. I wanted to believe it. And so anytime they ask, well, what's your name? Thomas. Even though I knew deep, so it's like hypnosis isn't this like crazy mind control. No, it's just a state of suggestion. Okay, it's just suggestion. Okay, and that's all it is. That's all hypnosis was. In the tool that made this work, there's one technique in hypnosis that I absolutely love. I use on every single webinar that I do now, and once I incorporated this one thing, which I'll just go ahead and introduce it, it's called fractionation. Once I introduced fractionation into my webinars, the webinar I had that used to do $20,000 to $30,000 in sales a month, from this one change, went up to $175,000 the first time when I really introduced it and used it properly in my webinars. So this is extremely powerful, and it can be used for the wrong reasons as well. Okay, so what is fractionation? If you've never heard of it, like I didn't back in the day, fractionation is a repeated series of inductions. Okay, it's making someone more familiar. In the NLP world, we have this concept called the map is not the territory. All right, how you view reality is not reality itself. And people have this map. Okay, you know that if you put a set of instructions on your Apple Maps or your Google, whatever one you use, Waze, that little blue line to follow, you know that's not like the real territory. Like it doesn't represent reality in and of itself. That little blue line you follow are not the roads in and of itself. Sure, it's symbolic of it, but it's a small part that represents the larger whole. Now, how do we use this? Well, in the dating world, I used to suck at dating. So let's go deeper into fractionation, okay? Let's go deeper into fractionation now. When I first got my license, I sucked with dating girls. And I used to be scared to just be direct. Now, that also gets me into a lot of trouble at times. I've gotten slapped a lot over it. That's always fun. Having a handprint on the side of your cheek, that paints a good word picture. But I noticed I'd go on a date with a girl. If we look at a storyline as well, there's what? Like the climax. And this whole thing, this series of events is the plot. We have the beginning, middle, climax, end. So I would go through the whole date and try to get a kiss. I would try to get a kiss. And that was the only thing. I tried to get it, but it was at the end, okay? And how I started incorporating fractionation, I didn't even know what it was back then. It was the first time I just kind of stumbled on it, all right? So I had to start introducing things before that, because I noticed every time I'd go to give them a kiss at the end of the date, they'd kind of like run back away from me. And I noticed like, hey, I'm going just in for the kill with no like introduction, no, in frame control, this is called like dampening or softening. We're trying to loosen their model of reality, their grip on reality. Okay, so what I started doing was introducing more subtle touches throughout the dates. I wouldn't just try to go get a girl in bed or anything like that at the very beginning or at the very end of the date. I'd start introducing touch at the beginning. Like even in text messages and stuff like that, I'd try to use words in my text messages to like introduce them to how the date was going to be. I'd try to set the tone for the relationship very early on. That way it wasn't a surprise at the very end. Okay, I kind of let them know what was going to happen. I introduced touch. So when we first met, I would never give them a hug. I was like scared to touch a girl. I believe they had cooties when I was 16 still, which is so funny because I did some wild shit when I was 16. I mean, I'm talking about shit on buses that should not be done on public transportation. So I'd start introducing touch. I'd give them a hug. I'd shake their hand. I'd give them a kiss on the cheek. And then I'd do this, and then this, and then this. And then when I tried to take them home or anything like that, it was just normal. It was a normal progression to follow because I set it up early on. This is no different than a game of chess, my friend. Like now let's come back. Okay, so that's what fractionation is. It's repeated inductions. Each time we want deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay, it's like multiple octaves. If you look at the piano, it's a repeated set of keys, but each octave, whatever it's called, goes deeper. It goes higher. Okay. So that's fractionation. It's a series of repeated inductions. Now, how we use this in hypnosis is we're going to keep taking the client. So here's their baseline, okay? Baseline, we take them into trance or a state of suggestion, a state of deep relaxation, and we bring them back. We bring them back now to here. And then we go deeper, bring them back. Deeper, build them back. Deeper, build them back. So how I learned to incorporate this in my webinars, which allowed me to have that first 6-figure one, and like that's in an hour and a half. I made more money in an hour and a half than most people do in a full year. Believe it or not, it's easier to make a large amount of money in a short period of time than it is to make a little money over a long period of time. The problem is most people just aren't efficient with their resources. They try to go straight in for the kill. They try to go, hey, let's just do it. Let's bang right here on the first date, rather than having a series of repeated dates to go deeper and deeper. What this does with their map or their model of reality is makes them more familiar with it. Like the more you do something, the more you ride a bike, the better you get at it, the more familiar you are with it. Advertisers know this. That's why they show you a series of ads to increase brand familiarity, what they're known with, what you can compare it to, because our brain is very symbolic, okay? It's a series of repeated touch points in the date to make a girl more familiar with your touch. And if you look at the game Minecraft, they have this little map. And the farther you go, the more you play, the more you travel throughout the game, like the more of the map that you see. It gives you more details on the map. It gives you a more accurate representation. It makes you more familiar with the territory, so you're not just like jumping into the pool first time, okay? You're just kind of dipping your toes in, and then you dip your legs in, and then you kind of get waist deep, and then you jump off the diving board. Okay, so it's a series of like fractionating events. It's a series of repeated inductions that take them deeper and deeper and deeper. So when I first started using this in my webinars, what we're doing is I look at this like a game of chess. After watching Queen's game, I used to always wonder why my dad loved chess so much, and I understand now it's a game of class, it's a game of strategy, and it's very elegant. There's a very hidden art behind it, which I think is absolutely beautiful. It's in terms of the webinar, instead of taking people deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, bringing them back to baseline, deeper back to baseline, I'm kind of following the tech. I'm definitely using this technique, but I'm mixing with other things because I kind of build up their belief, then knock them down. Build up their belief more, knock them down. Build up their belief, knock them down. Each time it gets deeper and higher, deeper and higher. So I use a lot of like push-pull. Now why do I do that? It's symbolic of life. With every breath you take, it's an expansion. With every breath you take, you expand your diaphragm. And with every breath you exhale, it's a contraction. It's how you grow muscles. You stretch and contract with every repetition. Like, you're not gonna defy this. You're not gonna defy this, okay? Now, why do I do this? Because in the game of chess, when people do webinar consulting or anything with me as of late, they're like, one guy called me the whisperer of webinars, and I love that title. It's pretty cool, I won't lie. Anyone who tells you they don't need outside validation and all that stuff, they're liars. It always feels good. Now, do I need it? I don't need it, but I do want it. I'd be naive or a liar to tell you I don't. It always feels good. Like, I don't need other people to know who I am, for me to know who I am. It's a good concept. Maybe you should apply that to your own life if you like it. But in the game of chess, you have these diagonals and straights. You have your queen, your king, your rooks, your bishops, your knights, all that stuff, and you have your pawns up here. And depending on which openings, chess has a series of openings you can follow. There's certain moves you should play, okay? And you're trying to make the opponent blunder. You're trying to force their position. So what do you have to get good at doing? Seeing the outcome in advance, because then you reverse engineer. You're like, how can I trap their queen on the diagonal so I can move their knight to a position where they blunder, okay? It's like, how can I get them to, in sales, give up arguing for their limitations on the things like defending the things taking power away from them, okay? We want to make them feel resourceful. We want to get them to buy on emotion rather than think about it. Because their thinking is what got them into the damn problem. It's what made them blunder their queen over and over. And they keep playing the same opening, wondering why their queen keeps getting taken. This is all about plotting the end in advance. And what we're trying to do is, this is not guaranteed every time. So what we're trying to do is play with probabilities. We know that if we use this, like this technique, it's going to work 70% of the time. It's going to increase our closing ratio 70%. Like, it's better to do it than to not. Okay, and what we want to do is find a bunch of techniques. Like, I use fractionation, I use reframing, I use pre-framing, I use so many different linguistic devices to set the most impenetrable pawn structure possible. Okay, like the assonance and the consonants and all the alliteration that I use in my vehicle, like in my videos and all that stuff. Did you not hear that? Go back and watch this, because I'm making you aware of things consciously by drawing your awareness to it. Now, I'm also doing sleight of hand and sleight of mouth. I'm using other techniques in this video, which I'll break down later. If you've noticed, the map is not the territory. When we first introduce something, a lot of people have preconceived notions or cognitive bias, which is like, if you notice, the first time I introduced hypnosis, I was like, that would never work. That's how a lot of people's beliefs are. Then I showed an example. I told a story, so I took you into trance. Said, let's go deeper. It's a trance-inducing term. It's very Milton model language pattern. And then now, I brought you back to now, present state. Take you deeper, now, deeper, now, deeper. I'm repeating the induction multiple times to take you deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, okay? There's so many awesome things you can do. And why this is important, it's no different than the touch with the dating. It's what makes it work. It's what makes it familiar. We're trying to expand your model we're trying to expand your territory. We're trying to add details and more familiarity to your map. That way, eventually, your model of reality, if you've noticed unconsciously, now that I'm making you aware of it consciously, I've been doing this the whole time. Every time I've introduced something and taken it deeper, I've kind of let go of my model of reality. I'm letting go of the things I thought I used to know. We're trying to, eventually, that's what we want objections to do. That's what we want our clients' model of reality to do on webinars. How do we do that? Repeated touch points. And the peaks get deeper and deeper, and build them up, knock them down. Build them up, knock them down. Build them up, knock them down. All right? There's just patterns that make this stuff work. And they're absolutely beautiful when you use them, because if you know you have a phenomenal product that can help a lot of people, why would you not do everything you can? Why would you not do everything you can to get your clients to see things from your perspective? Frame control is by far, without a shadow of a doubt, and even according to most researchers and sales scientists, whatever you want to call them, it's if not the most effective thing you can do for your presentation. It exists to support you. Comedians use it. If you notice, they set the punchline up. They set the punchline up. And how do they know their punchline will work? They don't just come out on Netflix and have their brand new joke land. No, they do a repeated series of small shows. They take 10 new jokes, go to a local comedy show, two of them land really well, 8 of them flop. So they rewrite 8. Come back, 4 out of the 10 now land. They rewrite 6. Next time, 7 out of the 10 land really well. They all get really good laughs. And by the time after they've kept doing that, going deeper and deeper into their craft, by the time they hit the big stage, everything lands and people make it seem like it's effortless. But like, just because it looks effortless, it's because it has effort in it. They put effort in behind the scenes. Just because you can't see what's going on behind the curtains doesn't mean there's no effort there. It's just beneath the surface. It's not visible to the naked eye. All right? You have to get good at seeing things past what your eyes can pick up. Remember, the map is not the territory. What you perceive to be reality is not reality in and of itself. Okay? There's a lot more things going on at play here. How do I know that? Well, we can see less than what, like 3% of the light spectrum, colors, frequency, all that. Like, we're very limited in what we're able to actually see. We're very limited, all right? So I highly encourage you to use fractionation and repeated series of inductions, taking your clients deeper, building them up, knocking them down, bringing them back to baseline. Take them deeper and deeper, then bring them back. Take them deeper and deeper and deeper, then bring them back. It makes 1, unpredictable, and 2, it gets them to consume the marketing. 3, it keeps their attention for longer, and 4, they have to be able to see things from your point of view. They have to be able to see things from your point of view. It's why when I used to go put on my mom's glasses and call her blind, she's like, well, these glasses aren't prescribed to you, son. They're prescribed to my eyes. They're for my eyes only, okay? You have to get your clients to see, you have to prescribe them that vision and get them to see it through your lenses, all right? This is why fractionation works so well, is because if I was to just go for the kill on the first date, if I was to just go for sex on the first date, most girls would be repulsed by that. I would argue those are not my kinds of girls, but in all seriousness, it's a joke, taking everything so damn seriously. If you just try to convince somebody of something or persuade them of something, like the first attempt is usually not going to be very effective. Most people are not clean slates. They already have beliefs. And so what you have to get them to do is show them multiple different ways on how their beliefs are harming them. It's worked extremely well for me. It's never worked against me. Every time I've not done this, it's hurt me. It's tanked conversions. And I haven't made as much money. When I started using fractionation, my close ratio on my webinars went from like 5 to 15%. That's a big difference in terms of sales, especially when you're selling a $7,000 to $15,000 thing. It's nuts. It's nuts. So I'm not promising you're going to make a 6-figure day, but you could when you start using stuff like this. If all the well-formed conditions, all the efficiency and all the stuff is there, you can have your first 6-figure day if you start using things like fractionation, reframing, pre-framing, and all that stuff, okay? The whole goal is to get them to see things from your perspective, because they've been seeing things from their perspective, and that's what's causing their controversy, chaos, and misery. It's why their life is so shit, okay? So, hope it helps somebody. I love using communication techniques and stuff like this because they are so effective. I'm not trying to talk to their conscious mind. I'm trying to do things unconsciously. And like I said, yes, this can absolutely be used for evil. Hitler used it for evil. There's plenty of people who have used things like this for very evil agendas and regimes. The world's kind of in a dark place as of late. And so hopefully when you use this, you can make a really good impact in your clients' lives if you use it properly, and we can make the world a better place than it was today. So love you all. Keep being awesome. I will see you on the next one.